following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee. Welcome into the Main Street Preps This Week podcast featuring Russell Venozzi and Tyler Palmerton talking high school sports all across Middle Tennessee. Here are your hosts with Tyler Palmerton. Here's Russell Venozzi.
Hey everyone, we're back with Main Street Preps this week after a quick break last week. I'm Russell Venozzi, joined as always by Tyler Palmerton. Tyler, you doing all right today?
I'm doing wonderful, man. How are you doing?
Doing well. We're working through some technical difficulties here, but both of us are coming in strong, hopefully, with the signal here. So that's good. And we've got a fun show lined up. Yeah, a little bit. But we've got a fun show lined up today. We're going to check in with Franklin Road Academy Athletic Director Kris Palmerton after the Panthers announced a couple of big coach hirings last week. And then we're going to kind of put a bow on basketball season by looking back at some of the top moments, reviewing our Fab 15 rankings, and kind of teasing the all Mid-State girls and boys basketball teams a little bit as well. But before we get to all of that, we are going to bring in Kris Palmerton now, who joins us by phone. Kris, you doing all right this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Russell and Tyler. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, and we know it's been an exciting couple of weeks over there at FRA, and Kris, you're in year 6, going on year 7 now at the school. I guess what's kind of been the biggest change that you've seen on campus and around the athletic department during that time that you've been there?
Well, I think, and to your point, this is I'm in my 7th year right now after spending 25 years in Georgia, and when I first was going through the process here in Nashville with Mr. Casey, who was also in Atlanta at a rival school of ours. He came the year before, and he wanted me to come up, and we looked, and my wife and I, and we just saw a great footprint and Sean's vision and the school's mission that's starting in place to encourage and nurture and just the all-inclusive Christian community. Was a huge draw for us, but Sean's vision for where we could go academically and facilities-wise, as you know, the facilities were always already amazing here, but there was an exciting opportunity to continue to build on that, and so that's been a big part of it. And now we're starting to add get the right people in the seats on the bus, so to speak, as well. So that's exciting.
And Kris, this is Tyler. Going back to that, you mentioned building on Sean's vision. What kind of specific goals really kind of fit into that vision did you guys identify when you got there?
So number one, the first and foremost, and we stick to that to this day, and I think that's why Lisa and Justin came, is literally stick to the school's mission, to inspire, to encourage and nurture our students, get to know them really well. We're smaller. Our numbers target-wise were clearly outlined. We're going to be right around 100, 85, 90 to 100 in the upper school, and just really invest in our children and really encourage our families to buy fully in. And he's fully. We've always focused on that. Any decision we make is not about the adults. It's always about the children when we talk from the leadership team. And from his vision athletically, it's been that to not just from the bricks and mortar, but to the people that we have with our coaches. And there were many great coaches already in place, and some retired, and some have moved on, and we've just had an opportunity now to build on people who want to be here and organically build.
Well, speaking of the ones that were just hired, Kris, last week the news dropped that you guys had brought on Pope Prep football coach Justin Geisinger as your next football coach. And at the same time, you also added Lisa Shad as the new volleyball coach, and she's got quite an impressive resume as well. Can you just kind of take us through why those two were a good fit for FRA?
Yeah, I think literally their faith-based backgrounds were extremely important. They've both been involved in programs in which, quite frankly, they built from the ground up. They knew that there would be, they'd have an opportunity to build their own program, create their own footprint here. Both of them wanted their children at a school like FRA. Lisa has a son and Justin has 2 boys. And they were very open about that. So really it was their reputation and what they've done and with both of them. Everyone that I spoke to, everything that I thought was reassured from their passion, their commitment, their love for children and teaching and coaching.
Hey, Kris, on the football side, as you're leading that search committee for a new football coach, how much are you keeping in mind that competitive level of that D2 AA middle region that you're going into with Lipscomb Academy, CPA, BGA, Davidson Academy, Good Pasture? I mean, how much are you thinking about what you're about to go up against when you're vetting, that new coach?
I think that all takes care of itself. I can only worry about what we're doing at FRA and trusting the Lord that we're picking the right person for our community and that person fully wants to invest and knows that it's a year-round job. There's no off days. And Justin, Coach Geist definitely gets that. And it is high cotton, so to speak, in our D2 AA middle region, which is great. Worrying about, or he didn't say worry, but concerned about that competition, that'll take care of itself with getting the right person in Coach Geisinger for sure.
And the search committee that helped you out here included an advisory group that had former NFL players Matt Castle, Jared Allen, Chris Spencer, and Derek Morgan on the list. How did you connect with them, and how was their counsel helpful during that process?
So all 4 are parents, current parents. They're fully bought in. Their children are in, most of them in lower school. Matt and Lauren Castle have a daughter in the middle school and then 4 other children in the lower school. So they already knew what FRA was about, what our community was about, what we were looking for from their perspective. But as far as connecting with them, Matt and I've known Matt for a while now. He's been involved in several areas, just always willing to help out and volunteer. And then Jared, basically the same thing. Jared serves on our board, as does Matt, actually. And then Derek and Chris are relatively new, and we were glad to be able to get their input. And so it was seamless. There was no one big-timing anyone or anything like that. They're true, very humble, genuine gentlemen, and we're a great help. And I'm grateful for their time, for sure.
Kris, can you take us kind of behind the curtain a little bit as a high school AD? When it comes to these hires, how much of them are getting done through a committee, and how many are done maybe more by that, maybe like a singular voice in the upper admin?
I think it depends on the job. Quite frankly, in the position, I think some people might tell you that a committee will. I actually spoke to an AD, Middle Tennessee AD, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, a committee! That doesn't sound great." And actually, ours was great, but I could see how that could be a problem and muddy the waters to an extent. Fortunately, we were all fully aligned, and I thank our headmaster Sean Casey for helping in that process as well and helping form that committee. But to that point, basically the volleyball committee was mostly me. I did have 2 of our coaches, Lauren Castle, Matt's wife, who I mentioned, she coaches with us, and Shannon Austin-Fort had them interview Lisa as well. So I really think, we do have a basketball committee. We had a meeting this morning because we still have that job out there. So I think it really depends on the position, the profile of the position, and quite frankly, getting other people involved is not necessarily a bad thing, who can bring other insights to the table and understand our community. Yeah,
you mentioned the basketball job there, and of course, longtime Coach John Pierce just stepped down last month after 16 seasons there. So you're making another hire. Like you said, a very busy time there in your office. But just kind of looking at the big picture here, Chris, I mean, how can all this change, or how are you kind of hoping all this change can propel FRA forward in the seasons to come?
Well, I think it's again, building organically from our lower school programs, connecting them through our middle school and building enthusiasm. And, nothing changes to an extent from, Bill and John, Bill Whittemore football and John Pierce basketball, both outstanding men who decided to step away. And we're going to continue to build on what they've already created. Make no mistake, they've done a great job, and we're just looking to continue to build and attract more of our own kids. And again, like I said, build organically. This is not a microwave process, so to speak.
Chris, we're gonna get you out of here, man. But your youngest son, Walker, he went to the University of Tennessee. He was a key piece of that FRA 2016 baseball championship. You guys score any tickets to that Vandy UT game this weekend, or what's the deal?
I tell you what, we love he's excited about Vols baseball for sure. And, that was a fun journey. So yeah, we will, we'll be there. I assure you, for at least one of the games. He'll be in town, and he's got a friend who's at Ole Miss. He was actually over there last weekend for the Ole Miss series. So yeah, that'll be fun.
Well, don't forget about Russell and I if you guys find a couple other ones, okay? Russell and I would like to go.
All right, man. You know how to get in touch with me. We'll see. They're going to be hard to come by, I assure you.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, it's going to be the hottest ticket in town there this weekend. But Chris,
I really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks again for joining us. And that's been Franklin Road Academy Athletics Director Kris Palmerton. We really appreciate his time today, taking out some time from what's like we kind of talked about, Tyler. It's just been one move after another over there for them, and it'll be interesting to see, like, kind of once all the dust settles over at FRA, kind of what those programs look like, and especially with the football hire. I mean, to pluck away an acting head coach from a Division II AAA school, let alone a coach that had just beaten Brentwood Academy in the playoffs, kind of a high watermark there for Pope Prep and Justin Geisinger, I thought was a pretty big splash hire for them.
Yeah, a big football hire can, not to just keep propping football up. Football gets its due all the time, but a big football hire can do wonders for an athletic department. It can be everything. Look at Independence, with Scott Blade a few years ago, what he's able to do, or, more than a few years ago, but it can really be transformative for an AD. So yeah, a lot going on over there, and that's not to discount the other sports. It's just it's the ticket seller, and it can be a moneymaker for schools. Football can. So, but they made a great volleyball hire too. So yeah, a lot going on. It's hire season, man. And FRA has really gotten after it.
Yeah, they sure have. And another season that just wrapped up, of course, Tyler, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it last week because we were on the brief break that I mentioned, but basketball season is officially in the books, and we have some review work to do there on that front. And it was a really fun season, and capped off, of course, with the state championships, where Middle Tennessee had some level of success there. Of course, on the girls' side, Webb School won the Division II Single A championship. Innsworth won the Division II Double A title, and Upperman came away with the Class 3A trophy. And on the boys' side, if you had East in your name, it was a good week for you. East Robertson wins Class A, and East Nashville won Class 2A.
So true. Yeah, if you're on the east side, you're doing well.
Yeah, that worked out.
On the east side of some town.
So, in thinking back, now that we've had some time to kind of let basketball season simmer a little bit, Tyler, what are some of the memorable moments that stand out to you?
Oh, I think, the East Nashville's boys title really stood out. That was fun to watch. I think, it was such a dominant season for them. When you look at that final record, I'm going to double check it. Yeah, 32-3. They were looked at as the favorites, I felt like, all year, and that's not always an easy crown to carry. I think we saw what sometimes that can do to a team when it finally gets to that tournament, that state tournament where you have to go win a title, it can be kind of a heavy crown. So I thought they handled it really well and played like the favorites. And then I just thought the community sport behind them was awesome. Like, I remember we saw Milan's crowd file in for that state championship, and I sort of thought, oh boy, like this place is going to be rocking for Milan. But East Nashville had a great turnout show up, and they had a few people go out to that state championship football game in the fall. And sometimes these events, this little bit of success can kind of spur some excitement in your athletic department and get people out to games, which is just vital. I mean, I don't know that people can really realize like those ticket sales actually matter. The concession sales matter to athletic departments that are trying to, really have like a good foundation. So fan support is huge. That was one of mine. Kind of on the same front for me, the Mtcs Girls, their run to the finals, again, even though they lost to Webb, was unexpected. I definitely didn't see it. That was a team I hadn't seen play all year, but ended up being really good and gave Webb a great first half. I mean, had them on the ropes. That felt kind of like an NCAA tournament game almost, where it was like the favorite was a little tight and the underdogs crowd was going crazy. They had a great turnout for that game, and even though it was in a losing effort, that effort from the team and the crowd, they had a great crowd, was just fun to see. It's just fun to see everybody get behind a team as they try and win a title.
Yeah, those were two great showings there, fan wise. And I happened to be on hand, speaking of memorable moments, I happened to be on hand, kind of just luck of the draw here for just two incredible performance. Well, one incredible overall game, and then maybe the performance of the season too. First up was that Lipscomb Academy at Brentwood Academy double overtime game for the Division II AA Middle Region title. And this probably was the wildest basketball game I was at all year. Brentwood Academy emerged in double overtime with a 97-89 win. But it was very much in doubt until the last couple of moments there of double overtime, because every time Brentwood Academy went on a run, Lipscomb had an answer. I believe Lipscomb had two last second shots, one at the end of regulation, another at the end of the first overtime. I believe the first overtime shot at the end was Willie Walton hit a buzzer beating three. And at the end of the fourth quarter, there was a crazy sequence where Tyler Tanner from Brentwood Academy tried to bring the ball up the floor. It got stolen. Somebody from Lipscomb threw up just kind of a desperation three, and it fell just right into the hands of, I believe, Miles Sidney down in the post, and he put it up, and that tied the game as the buzzer sounded. So that was just a crazy sequence there. But
unreal.
The way that Trent McNair, though, stepped up for Brentwood Academy, I don't have his point total in front of me, but he really provided a lot of the energy.
I think Tanner had 28 and McNair had 27.
Yeah, both of them were just phenomenal that night, and it was something to see. And then on top of that, I mean, that gym, as everyone well knows from the Darius Garland days, does not seat a ton of people. So it was 3, 4, 5 rows of standing room only there along the baseline, and that was something to experience there. I was glad to get outside and breathe some fresh air after that. I was a little bit claustrophobic there, but it was a fun night. And another one that was maybe a little less expected because it was kind of a one-sided game. Brandon Miller happened to be at, I assume what ended up being his performance of the season. He had 42 points and 11 three-pointers against Rockvale on January 18th. Those were both school records for a single game, and just felt like he could do no wrong. He would step up to the three-point line and just let it go, and it was falling. It was just one of those nights that I'm sure he'll remember for a long time. So those were a couple of things that stuck out to me.
I can't believe it. Yeah, I mean, well, the planning, we're going to have somebody at the BA Lipscomb game, but to be able to catch that one and Brandon Miller's school record game, that's pretty cool that you're able to see both of those. Yeah,
and I believe that was the only time all season I saw Miller, so got pretty lucky there that all worked out. But
yeah.
And then let's talk some rankings too, Tyler, because I know everybody that pays attention to the website has seen our final Fab 15 rankings, but let's just kind of run down some of those top teams there.
Mm-hmm.
Starting with the girls' side, I worked on the final rankings, and they kind of came together fairly easily there. Innsworth was kind of the surefire number one after winning the Division II AA title, and Webb School number two. Innsworth had beaten Webb Schools at the beginning of the season, so that was kind of the difference there. And then Cookeville at number three, Blackman at number 4, and the Class 3A champion Upperman at number 5. Of course, you can see the rest of both of these rankings at mainstreetpreps.com, and that is how these top 5 on the girls' side shook out after all was said and done.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of arguments there. I think the way it played out, that was a fairly explanatory top 5. As we all know, toward the bottom of the rankings when things get really tough. But here's what I had on the boys' side. 1 through 5, I've got Brentwood Academy, followed by Lebanon, Cane Ridge, Beach, and East Nashville. Lebanon BA, I think, is number 1 because that's a team that played for a state championship in the largest private school class. And, other than East Nashville, the kind of the large schools that were out there were beaten before that. So even though BA wasn't able to cap off its season, 30-0 like it wanted to, I feel like they still were deserving that number 1 ranking. Lebanon making a run to the state semifinals in 4A, I felt like was worthy of bumping them all the way to 2. You make that kind of a run and you deserve it. And certainly they've got, between Jared Hall and Yarn Alexander, that was a good team. And we talked with their coach, Jim McDowell, Russell, before the state tournament, and I didn't know a whole lot about him, but I think they've got a good coach. I like having an alma mater, a guy who's his alma mater is there to be at the helm. So, and then Cane Ridge, Beach, East Nashville, those teams are deserving right there. East Nashville's a champion. Beach, great season, a ton of wins. Cane Ridge could have easily finished number 1 with a better run. So, nothing else too surprising other than that, man. I saw a lot of great basketball, a lot of great players. I know you worked hard on those mid-state teams, so not always easy to hand out those awards, but certainly a lot of good stuff for you to mull over. When we look at the all mid-state teams, our superlatives and such, those awards, what did you sort of think about on the girls' side?
So
as you were making those decisions.
Yeah, and we kind of made the superlatives. We kind of talked through together. But it was tough. There was a lot of talent on the girls' side. I did think that sort of these top awards ended up kind of sorting themselves out, just kind of based on merit. And Player of the Year, of course, went to Carly Weathers from Loretto. She had the most points per game at 23.4, and then to go along with it, the 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks. Of course, she's an Alabama signee and I believe a 2-time Miss Basketball winner as well, and just had an unfortunate kind of run there in the postseason, didn't make it to the state tournament. But I think if you're talking individual players, it's hard to kind of overlook her as the best one this season in the area. And then Coach of the Year, Dana Mcwilliams, I think it was pretty impressive what she did at Upperman this year. There was a time in January where they fell out of our Fab 15 rankings for a few weeks, I believe. And they were kind of already on that edge anyway, but they kind of disappeared because they lost 3 straight district games in January. And we're kind of thinking, okay, well, maybe they're not the team to beat over there in the Upper Cumberland. And, they turned things around. They won 17 games to finish the season. So I thought, a coach keeping a team on track after things kind of spiral like that is important. And this was also her 3rd title in the last 6 or 7 years too. So what they've built over there at Upperman is impressive. And that was another team too that kind of got shut out in 2020. They'd actually already won their first game at the tournament before the state tournament was shut down, right before the semifinals happened. So those seniors that were on that team, I'm sure, kind of feel vindicated that they got their chance to win it all. And then, but overall, I think Team of the Year, the strongest team that you and I both saw and across the landscape had to be Innsworth. I mean, they were 26-4. All 4 of those losses came to out-of-state teams at tournaments early in the season where Innsworth may not have even had its full lineup. They were missing Jelani Cambridge for a couple of those games. And otherwise, they pretty much steamrolled their way to the title and finished the season on a 20-game win streak. So that one was a pretty easy selection there for Team of the Year.
Yeah. That's kind of funny. I'm going to look at the boys' superlatives here. We've got two Alabama signees kind of at the top of the class, and that's sort of how Gatorade saw it. Also, they picked the Gatorade Players of the Year. Brandon Miller won that on the boys' side, and Carly Weathers won on the girls' side. So obviously, Brandon Miller's our boys' Player of the Year. I mean, at 26 and a half points, almost 8 rebounds a game. Shoots 41% from the 3-point line. I mean, I bet his free throw percentage is pushing 90. Miller can rebound, handle the ball, shoot the ball. He can kind of just do everything. I mean, he's just that kind of player. Everybody around here is obviously really excited to watch how he develops in college and like what will he do next? Because I mean, he's just wowed everybody around here for the last 4 years or so. So that was an easy choice. I don't think anybody could argue otherwise. I know we've got a few guys in the area over 30 points a game, but just not the complete package, and it's not Brandon Miller. So that was a fairly easy one. Coach of the year, Kurt Caton at East Robertson. Maybe a couple guys that could have been in the running for this, but that turnaround from mid-season, you know, they were 5-5 in December, and I know that's still super early in basketball. It's really nothing to worry about, but 5-5 going into the Christmas break, and then they turned around and won like 20 games in a row. I mean, you know, and all of a sudden just having a great year. And then it kind of came to a screeching halt when they got thumped by Clay County in the postseason. And sometimes you wonder, well, how are they going to come back from that? You know, how's this team going to bounce back from losing this game? And they came back from it by winning a state championship. Now, they didn't have to go through Clay County again, but just the resiliency, you know, there's a lot that has to happen. Obviously, the Groves brothers, super important for East Robertson, but you got to have a coach at the helm that's pulling the right strings and calling the timeouts at the right time and all the million things that coaches do. You heard East Nashville coach Avery Patton say during that week, it was like he was babysitting 14 guys at the DoubleTree in Murfreesboro. I mean, you kind of are the babysitter sometimes. It's more than just calling the right timeouts. So, yeah, congrats to Kurt. That's a great coaching job down the stretch. And team of the year, we gave it to East Nashville. That team was well equipped. I mean, 31-3, as mentioned, Class 2A champions, emphatically the Class 2A champions. And when I say well built, I should say, I mean, well assembled, whatever you want to call it. You know, Jared Taylor and Willie Wilson both moved out of state during that COVID year, came back, and all those guys on that East Nashville team knew if those players could move back, you know, they'd have an opportunity to go win a championship. But I think more than that, it sounded like when they all got back, they all really, really did work at it, you know, a lot of hours in the summer and stuff. And that was a team that's just really cohesive. That's what I always noticed about them. They knew each other. You know, when Jalen Jones lobbed that alley-oop off the backboard to Raz Armstrong in the district tournament, I mean, that doesn't just happen. Those are kind of hard to figure out. So I thought those guys were really cohesive at the end of the day. So that's your team of the year as far as we're concerned. And I thought we got it right, man. I thought we did.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the DoubleTree was glad when their state tournament run was over, because we heard from Jalen Jones they were kind of wearing out the front desk staff there with the free cookies, the famous DoubleTree cookies there.
So good.
Hard to beat. Good. Yeah, it's just incredible. They had those in the media room one day, and that was a nice touch there. But anyway, so before we get out of here, Tyler, let's go over the first team from both the girls and boys, all mid-state teams, and the rest of these you can find on mainstreetpreps.com. There's a first through fourth team along with an honorable mention. So we did not chintz anybody here with these awards. We wanted to recognize as many of the great seasons as we could. But the first team on the girls' side included Amari Berry, a sophomore guard from Clarksville. She had 24.6 points a game and 7.5 rebounds. Also, Jelani Cambridge, another sophomore guard, this time from Innsworth. She was right at about 17 points and 6.5 rebounds a game. Then there was Jelani's sister, Kennedy Cambridge, who just committed to Kentucky over the weekend, a senior guard from Innsworth, 14.8 points and 4.6 rebounds. And then rounding out the guards on the first team was Tamia Scott, a senior from Northwest in Clarksville, and she had 20.8 points and 9.3 rebounds. And then looking at the forwards, there was Reagan Grimes, a senior from Ravenwood, who just had a phenomenal season there, almost 20 points a game and 9.2 rebounds. And then another forward from Webb School, Aaliyah De Rosario. She was a Miss Basketball finalist there in Division II Single A, and she had 13 points and 11 rebounds a game. And I believe she is 6'6", so she had quite an advantage down there in the post, and really made the most of it during that title run for Webb School.
Yeah, she can shoot a little bit too. Yeah, great player. Yeah, looking at the boys, let's start with a forward, Malik Dia Insworth, senior who signed with Vanderbilt, basically 22.5 points a game and almost 10 rebounds a game. That's awesome. And that's a guy who can shoot it a little bit now too. So Malik Dia was really good this year. At guard, East Robertson senior Taylor Groves, obviously a title winner, an Ole Miss football signee, probably could play college basketball. Honestly, he's one of those guys that could, if he wanted to do college basketball, he probably could. 22.3 points, 6.5 rebounds a game. Forward, Jared Hall, Lebanon Jr., 19 points a game, 12 rebounds a game, 85% from the line. Great player, had his team right in the title hunt. And, Lebanon kind of went through some lumps this year too. So to have a guy that can help get him out of that, that's important. At guard, this was a pretty easy selection. Grant Strong, Clay County senior and Tennessee Tech signee, 33.8 points per game. Kept his average above 30 for the last 2 years. Phenomenal guard. East Nashville guard Jared Taylor. He's a senior. Be interesting to see where he goes from here. 19.5 points a game, 6 rebounds a game. He's just kind of an attacking, a powerful player. Really good. Could have played on a 4A team, frankly, and been a starter easy. I think he's that good. And then last but certainly not least, Clarksville senior guard JJ Wheat, 22.3 points, 7 rebounds a game. Somebody's got to pick up JJ Wheat. He's so good. That Clarksville Lebanon game was so good. I wish I could have watched him play more throughout his career, but he's really a blast to watch, and I hope he gets a good college opportunity somewhere.
Yeah, congrats to all of those first team selections, as well as everyone else that made the all Mid-State teams. Just tons of basketball talent in the area, and for those seniors, it'll be interesting to see how they do in college. So many of them are heading to bright college futures there, and so we'll definitely keep tabs on that. But otherwise, Tyler, that is officially a wrap on basketball season. It was a lot of fun, and now we're on to spring sports. So the grind does not stop. There's still plenty of content coming to MainStreetPreps.com. We'll have players to watch for all the spring sports, as well as tons of coverage and stories and everything else, just like you're always used to. So we appreciate everybody following our basketball coverage this season. But that'll also do us for today's episode too. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next time on Main Street Preps This Week.
This has been Main Street Preps This Week with Russell Venozzi and Tyler Palmerton, covering high school sports all across Middle Tennessee. Follow them online on Main Street Preps at Main Street Preps. Also follow Russell at RussellV_MSP and Tyler at TPalmatier83, both on Twitter. Main Street Preps This Week is a Main Street Media production.